How you doing? It is Thursday, thumping Thursday to you, and I hope it's a good one. I hope it winds out the week for you. Or there's some of us, of course, that will be trading tomorrow. Probably not myself, but if you are, I hope it's a good one for you. Don't forget, it is NFEC Day, formerly known as NFP, but they chose to change its name. I don't know why they do that. Who am I to say? Does it really matter? Maybe. We'll see. Look, I really hope you're having a wonderful week thus far. Look, sometimes I open the charts and I look at them and I go, know exactly what I'm doing today. Other days, I look at the charts and think, gee, I remember looking at these about 15 years ago and seeing exactly the same thing, nothing. Today is not such a day, I'm pleased to say. There are a few things that I'm great, Marlon, thank you. There are a few things that look interesting to me. So we'll have a look at those very, very shortly. But first up, as we always do, I'm in no trade, so I can't update you on anything. I can give myself a small kick in the butt, though. Maybe we can do that in just a tick. But let's start with, as usual, the pound versus the US dollar and see if there is a breakout trade to be had here today for the Open of London session. Of course, it is a big day in London. The Monetary Policy Committee and, of course, the Bank of England people will be telling us their decision on whether they're going to hike another 0.25% or do nothing or hike more. I don't know, no idea. But they did it last month whilst I was away from the charts. Maybe they'll do it again. Who's to say? Or do they take a lead from the Fed? It's all guesswork. What that does mean, of course, and of course we've got the ECB as well doing exactly the same thing a little bit later on. What it does mean is that pound and euro trades may well be affected. In fact, I can't see the euro and the pound being anywhere near where it is at the moment come later in the day. I think there's 4 or 5 hours to go before that happens. But it will be significant, and perhaps we need to be very, very wary of that going in. Goodness me, on BTC. Okay, I don't think I have a BTC chart, but when Ash comes in, I'll get him to put it up and certainly have a look at it. No doubt about that. First up, pound versus the US dollar. I did mention that we'd be looking to see if there was a breakout trade to be had today. Now, those of you who are new to this sort of thing, welcome to you in particular. But here's what we try to do each day, or each day that we're trading. And we isolate the range of the previous day and the current day thus far. So there's the bottom of the range yesterday, and the top of the range yesterday will indeed be the top of the range that I just described. Yesterday's all yesterday's trading and trading thus far today. That's what we're seeking to break out of. Now, we've got a risk factor there in terms of pips of 75 by the time we put our spreads in there, about 80 pips of risk. Now, what we seek to achieve is a gap of 80 pips between significant support or resistance so that we can actually get that 80 pips in the bank before we hit such a thing. So significant support or resistance comes probably in this vicinity for mine, and it isn't 1-to-1. And then you've got the weekly pivot dead ahead, which also isn't 1-to-1. So the chances of it breaking out and getting to that level are there, but is that good enough for us? And the answer is probably no. That's to the downside. If we have a look to the upside, I have to go a little bit wider for that. A look to the upside tells us that, what are we looking for? 80 odd pips, right, to TP1. So to the upside, we've got about 25 or 30 pips before we hit strong resistance, in my humble opinion. So to me, it's not a decent trade to take. Sorry, there's the range there. I got that wrong. I was going from price action. So we're looking at 80 pips. Again, I don't think we've got 80 pips before we hit a decent resistance level. So I don't see any real gain in this. And of course, as I said before, we do have a monetary policy committee meeting, or the BOE statement coming up in 4 or 5 hours. So it's a no for me again for the breakout trade. If I were to be looking to trade the pound today, it would be after the announcement rather than prior. If I was in and free trading, different story, that'd be good, but I'm not. So pound is really of no significance to me today. Speaking of the pound, now I did say that I need to give myself a little kick in the backside. So I'll do that. I'll show you why. I tried to trade the pound short against the yen on Monday, I think it was, and I hadn't noticed one thing. And that one thing was this. We see today that the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of England is tipped to raise interest rate. Now, these numbers here, for those of you who don't know, they're quantified in 3. So there are 9 people on the Monetary Policy Committee, and 7 of them are forecast to vote for a rate rise. None of them are forecast to vote for a rate decrease. Not surprisingly, 2 of them are tipped to do nothing or vote for do nothing. As you can see, last month, 8 people voted for a rate rise, and for that reason, there was a rate rise to 0.25%. And now it's tipped that 7 of the MPC will vote for a rate rise today, giving us a 0.5% interest rate, which you can see quantified there. So had I looked at that on Monday, I would have been a little less inclined to trade the pound short against most things, much less the yen. So there you go. There's my little kick in the butt, and I got kicked in the butt for not noticing that. There's a little lesson for you to make sure you're aware, in particular, of those things that do come up on your Forex Factory or any other of the news calendars. Something for you to take note of, and eminently tradable at times. You know, if they forecast this well ahead of time, and you notice that the pound had been selling off, a nice little tip that you might look for a reversal in that, if that's the case. Generally, they'll do that a couple of weeks out. So oftentimes we're too late by the time that is posted, but it is a nice little tip if it happens. G'day to you, John. How you doing?
Hey, buddy.
Hello. Look out. Here's trouble.
I think we do have a trade.
I think you've got a trade, right?
I do. I think we do have a trade.
All right. Okie-doke. Let's go ahead.
It's a bit tentative, so let's get to it. Let me do that. Let me do this, and let me do that. Okay. It's a little bit tentative. So the market is very bullish, but I quite like the level more than anything else, and it is for a short, which let me do this. You see my screen here, actually. Yeah, it is for a short. I've gone in just under this this pivot here, and I'm only aiming for these lows here. I think it looks okay. I think it looks okay. It might take a while to play out, but let me tell you the thinking behind it. No, did I do that properly? Let me just make sure I've done this properly.
I think I've got a good idea what you're thinking.
Okay, well, what do you think? Let's see if you do.
I think you can see a right shoulder there.
Ah, well, actually, yeah, there's a few things. Let me do that instead. Here we go. That's better. Yeah, well, there's a few things I think about this. So, you know, we were talking about the Nasdaq the other day, and I was saying for me it's a long because we know the information about the Nasdaq, and you know, the Nasdaq did get a really nice pop to the upside after it. We were talking about this level here, and we were all looking at the long, and for different reasons. Now, the reason I'm looking at the short today is because we've got a Bank of England rate decision. So my thinking is that would the market want to rally beyond these highs before that rate decision's out? And I would have thought not. Yes, there is a right shoulder, but I think more importantly, I think that there's a little trend line that's going along here through there just like that, which you're absolutely right, does create us the right shoulder that I particularly like. And the right, I like the right shoulder when it's under the trend line. So let me just put this in here. So it's got a few things about it. So we got left. You're absolutely right, mate. There's the head, and here's the right shoulder. And I really like a right shoulder when it's under a trend line. So the reason I like this particular trend line as well is that it's already kind of been tested along here. So the price is kind of, you know, it's dragging itself around this area here. There is definitely a case to be made for upside as well. So, you know, I have to be sort of measured on this one. And the case for the upside is that the likes of Shell, which is, you know, one of the bigger companies in the FTSE 100, the likes of Shell are doing buybacks. You know, we had earnings yesterday. We were talking a few weeks ago about the FANG stocks, and we've had earnings from Facebook that have just been terrible. You know, the meta kind of idea that they've got has not been taken well at all. So we've got the meta part of the story dragging Facebook lower. I think PayPal didn't do too well either. I think PayPal might be looking at doing a few layoffs. So
just an aside on Facebook, we've got one of the richest people in Australia suing Facebook currently. I don't know if you've seen them on the Facebook news feeds or whatever. You don't use Facebook too much, I don't think, but
no.
Every day I get ABBA is making millions of dollars on what do they call that, up or down thing, options.
Oh, ABBA.
Binary options. It may not be ABBA, but it's someone like that, right? And generally, it's a person involved in finance. In Australia, that you've heard of Shark Tank or those sorts of things. All the people on there are making squillions of dollars on binary options, right? According to these posts. So the latest thing is Twiggy Forrest, who's a iron ore magnate in Western Australia, is now suing Facebook for actually allowing those posts because he was one of the aforementioned. He's now suing Facebook, and he won't muck around. It'll be for not $1 or $2, but Facebook got plenty, of course. But it may, what I'm suggesting is it may cause a ripple effect. And if that's going on all around the world, then I imagine that people, and generally these people, have got substantial financial backing, may just make a little ripple in Facebook. I don't know. Many have tried before, I guess.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's how these stories kind of end up building and building and building. And the big thing for Facebook has been earnings of just they've made a really bad play. And I think the Meta thing, it was a strange one. I mean, you've got this really solid company with a name which is obviously, you know, it's a global brand, and it's got this global brand name to it. And yet you kind of go down this completely different line and change the brand name. And I know it's worked in the past, but I thought it was quite different. I mean, I've seen companies shift strategy, but maybe start a different brand, you know, alongside it, like a sister company. But to actually kind of like, you know, try and use the same company, because it's sort of a different idea, the Meta thing. So I don't know. I think the Facebook powers that be possibly have made a bit of a misstep, and also I do think that with things like was it The Social Conscience? There was a movie about Facebook and how it collects data,
something like that.
With all that stuff, I think people are getting a bit more aware about being scammed and how their data is effectively the asset. Their data is the asset. You know, our personal identity becomes the asset, and yet we're not getting paid for that. So all those other aspects, I think, probably have started to sit quite badly with people. I don't use Facebook, so it's not something that I've ever had a problem with. But the reason I don't use it is that I just found it it didn't enrich my life at all. But don't get me wrong, I understand the argument. A lot of people have said I use it because I'm catching up with people I haven't seen for ages, and I understand that. And I suppose the people that I tend to do that with is more on something like WhatsApp, so it's a bit more a bit more funneled. But I guess everybody's different. But I guess that when it comes down to the people that are just posting, I don't know, pictures about them going out for dinner or whatever else, I guess that's going to get boring after a while. Plus the fact you can do it on Instagram.
Every restaurant I go to, it's just like the cameras are out, and I've done it myself. I've done it. This is we can probably talk about this later in the show, I suppose. We better get on to some trading stuff.
Yeah. So anyway,
sorry, I completely sidetracked.
Well, it's probably not down to you, mate, but it was a genuine story. So Facebook's earnings were poor. We saw the Nasdaq sink at the end of trading yesterday. I think the Nasdaq's probably still got enough room to go to the upside, but let's switch to the Nasdaq very briefly. So this is the FTSE trade anyway. I'm just thinking that we may well get a little bit of downside just because there's just a question mark in the economy today because of the Bank of England in interest rates speak, even though it does sound like that it's relatively dovish right now. So even though we're going to get that rate hike, I think that some of the numbers that we've been getting since the announcement of the rate hike have been a little bit cooler. CPI data right across the board has just come off a little bit. I mean, we did get a report yesterday that energy prices are going to go up by about £200 per household in the summer. But for right now, the CPI data is just cooling off a little bit, which puts the Bank of England and the other central banks in a position where they can be just a little bit more supportive of economic expansion rather than just having to choke it because they're trying to control inflation. That story is just dissipating a little bit. So it's possible that's the thing that ends up screaming through, and this just rallies. But the thinking behind my decision here is because of the potential uncertainty. Now, getting to the Nasdaq, obviously, after those terrible earnings, the question I think for the Nasdaq is this high enough for a right shoulder? Because that's really what I was looking at with the Nasdaq is to see whether we can actually now get a reversal pattern, because there's no doubt for me that we were going to get a bit of a rally, but the Nasdaq ultimately is bearish, and we should probably be looking for that bearish sentiment. There's the trend line. It didn't quite get there, and that's the same as the FTSE on a much smaller term time frame. I was looking on the hourly on the FTSE. This is the dailies on the Nasdaq. This is the sweet spot, and it would be a great spot to get to anywhere in this area here. Let's draw a little shape here. So anywhere, I think, in this area, for me, is the short for the Nasdaq, and it could take a few days, end up sort of like getting up to that point. But this is the short line. Before we get there, I think we could end up. I mean, it's not that far away, is it? It's not that far away, but we haven't touched the trend line, and that's what I'd really like to see. I'd like to see the Nasdaq up around about the 15.5 mark, and if we get up to 15.5 on the futures, then I think the downside and the bears could well take control. This is obviously a hold area, so can it still boost up here? Probably. Bond yields coming down a little bit, mate. Bonds started to rally yesterday, which I don't think people were really expecting, but bond yields did start to come off a little bit yesterday. So with earnings coming in lower on a company like Facebook, not such a good thing. The Fed are coming out in March. That's also going to choke some companies' profit lines, and that's the reason I'll be looking for Nasdaq shorts. But I'd really like that to happen around about the middle of February, which would match the seasonal pattern of the VIX actually spiking as well, which is a fear index, and we might see the same with the S&P as well. So S&P the same, very similar. Looks like we might even be in that sweet spot with the S&P for the right shoulder. So the vultures may start circling relatively soon on this stuff. Look at that on the S&P. Pretty close, isn't it?
Yep.
S&P
looks good too.
If the S&P doesn't get there, I'd be surprised if the Nasdaq does as well. So I think
the dollar index didn't get there the other day when I was pontificating on it, but I'll have a look at that in a minute. But when you're done with that, can you throw up a Bitcoin chart, mate, please?
Not with ease, but I will try.
Cool.
I need to go here.
I don't have one at my disposal.
Yeah, no, I can get one. Are you seeing my screen? Or are you still seeing Axie?
If you can't, I'm seeing your screen. But if you can't do it, then we do have an interested person in the room who can.
This one here. Can you see Bitcoin now?
Not yet. Still got S&P.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, then in that case, let me share this and see if I can make this a bit bigger. Can I make this a bit bigger? No, I want to take a snapshot. Okay, I can't get a massive one, but I can get you a chart. So let me give you this. Here we go. You see this okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, let me just get rid of that.
What time frame is that? 1 hour.
Right, this is just the hourly, so you probably want at least the daily, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here's the daily.
Snap and duck poo. Aha. Hang on, I'll get rid of my chat box. Can you draw a trend? Oh yeah, I can see what the boss is looking at here. You draw a trend line down from anywhere you like, really.
Could tuck in there.
There, yeah. Interesting, hasn't quite made it. There is a resistance area dead ahead. However, with that hanging man doji to your left.
This one here.
There.
Yeah. No, undoubtedly, and Bitcoin very similar. Where this would be the ideal. I don't know if it would ever make this, but this would be the ideal. That would be. Let's make sure we change the pen color here. Still working off this laptop, which is really irritating to me. So we got that there. If this pops through, comes back, that may end up making our little inverted head and shoulders just along there, and then we might see the rally from there. I'm still really bullish on Bitcoin. I don't know whether it comes down a little bit lower. I've heard calls for 20,000. I've heard calls for this area. There's lots of different ideas on Bitcoin, but I still really like the case for Bitcoin. I still really like the case for cryptos in general. There's just a bit of uncertainty, that the regulators have started to take a little bit more control of what controlling the narrative, but it doesn't mean that this thing's going away, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so this
when you're done.
This is the other one down here. So 29, maybe 30,000 coming down here. I think that would be the area that a lot of people would be getting involved in. Let's look at this on a weekly. Look at this. Quite a nice little bar on the weekly last week, but it hasn't quite touched down here. So around about the 30 to 32,000, I think would be of interest.
I'm seeing a bit of this not quite lately. It's kind of wants to go, but it doesn't quite. If you're done with that, can I have the daily back?
The daily, this okay, yeah, sure thing.
And can you draw a support line or support and resistance horizontal level? Yeah, just come down to those lows. No, sorry, up to the next lot. Keep going, 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 keep going.
There.
This
one? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a level in there somewhere.
Yes, there is. 40,000. Yeah. That's pretty clean.
So that's the one that I've got in my head at the moment. Whether whether we're looking at the moment at a long off that bearish bar, which was yesterday's candle, is interesting, because that trend line you drew suggests that we are at that that trend line, that resistance trend line. At the moment, that would be pretty much counter trend, because you've got a nice bear flag sitting there right now.
Oh, I was going to say, mate, yeah, took the words out of my mouth. I mean, this is the bear flag here, isn't it? And it does look like that may well play out. And if that was to play out, then what are we looking at here? We're looking at probably something like that. Can I grab this thing? Yeah, let's clone it.
G'day, Lewis.
Probably look, gets us down to the 30,000 area. That bear flag.
That's Lewis's target. Lewis, you've been in this forever, haven't you?
Well, looking at the shorts.
Yeah, that's his target.
That's really good, mate. Yeah, I mean, it could, couldn't it? I mean, if that breaks down, then I don't see why not. I don't see why.
Well, I think we're at a point now, exactly now, where this will tell us. So if we get a non-entry back into that range that you've just drawn, well, descending channel, if you like, then I think this can go long. But at the moment, a retest of the bottom of that channel also gets me an ABC short, and I think there's plenty of room to take profit there as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not a Bitcoin trader, but my analysis tells me that yes, we could go back to that, whatever that level is, 40-something thousand above.
Yeah.
But I'd want to see a false break of that base trend line, if you like, to get me into that. I think that's the best place to trade it long from. Best place to trade it short from is at the top of that channel, of course. But if it does present as a break and retest of that trend line, then I think there's probably short to be had. Right now, I'd be holding my chips.
I think I'd be the same, mate. And you know, this is the thing. I'd be prepared to pay. You know, I was more than happy to pay 40,000 when it was up at 60. So I'll be more than happy to wait, to let it go through and see if it comes back. Take it at 40,000. If it drops again, I'll take it at 30,000. I'll be okay with that. But I'm with you. I think this is just no man's land. If you're in the short, you want to hang on. Not a chance to initiate a lot. Not an opportunity to initiate a long, to my mind. Too unclear.
Yeah, so something else has to happen first for me. Yeah, I think so. Okay, thank you for that, mate. Are you okay for now? If I go, there's a few things I am looking at.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Alrighty. Best of all, they are ones that don't involve the euro and the pound. Although
just quickly on the pound, mate.
Yes.
Boris, the vultures are continuing to circle on Boris Johnson.
They're back on him again.
They're back on him again. Yeah.
He had a little respite there for a few days, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it looked like he'd escaped, but no, not escaped as yet.
Okay, we'll watch Boris and his little.
And you know what's interesting is that people are saying it's bullish. You know, so that, which is again
really.
Yeah, I mean, you know, surely the uncertainty, maybe the initial uncertainty, will create some downward moves. But no, people are saying it's bullish. I guess if Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, gets it, maybe it is.
Short to get long. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you mess with that one? I don't know.
Well, I will mess with it if it sets up technically, yes. But I'd want to see the MPC strut their stuff before I do anything with the pound now, I think. Okay, so there is the pound. Here's what I do like today. I like Kiwi CAD, but it looks as though it might escape on me. And I really want to know why the Kiwi has been plummeting against the US dollar like it has. Anyway, that's a different story. This candle here suggests to me that we're going long. And why? Because we had a nice double base. We had a very significant higher high. And to me, it's a significant higher low now. It is too late to trade it. in my humble opinion, because we're hitting this resistance area. So we've got to either break it and retest it, or we've got to pull back off it. So what a shame. Now it's a bit too late, but we did have a nice up and back entry above there. Stop loss there would have made perfect sense. Sorry, it is too late for that, and I just can't be in front of the charts all the time, but there you go. Yeah, look, same. It's got to break and retest now. So I'll just leave that one to you. I love Euro Kiwi also. So the Kiwi, I'm bullish the Kiwi. I'm not sure why, to be honest, but the charts are telling me that this is a distinct possibility. Euro Kiwi is one of them. I did say I want to talk about things that don't involve the euro and don't involve the pound, but I think fair warning is fair play. Now, I know, Ash, when you look at this chart, you can see this and this and this, and I can see that too. But what I can see also is this massive level here. And if this is to play out as an inverted head and shoulders, then holy dooly, where's it going? Because it's massive. It's really, really large. And I can't see how we can't, well, I can see how we can't, but it doesn't make sense to me that this level, as strong as it is, will yield instantly. That said, it's quite attractive at the moment, price by the looks of things, because they're headed towards it with speed. But I really want to see it hit that level and then come back off it and give me a lower high. Like I said earlier, I see a lot of things that are trying, like that little train that was going up there. But they just can't make it at the moment. And my case in point is the dollar index. That is the dollar index, yes, it is. And we spoke about this weeks and weeks ago. I saw, colors on here aren't real good. I saw this level here. Let me just make that a little bit bigger. Just so you can actually see it. Common colors, let's make it black, for instance, and a little bit thicker. That's the thicker one. There we go. So the dollar index, to my mind, had a very, very strong chance of hitting this level here, or at least this area here. That red line you can see coming through there is a monthly trend line, right, where price has gone bang, bang. And I really expected it to hit that level, but it just didn't get there before the sell-off. Maybe that's the Fed announcement, the reaction to the Fed announcement, which was pretty much reversed instantly, wasn't it? Up and back, quick as you like. But here's what I now see. I see this bottom of this channel, confluence area, strong horizontal level that you really past recency here, I suppose, but that's the level there that we're talking about. Strong support in the past, strong support. And if you go back a little bit further, I think there's evidence of that again. But certainly in recent times, that level, which is, geez, I can't read the bloody thing, 85 something, let's call it, sorry, 95 something, 95.80 or something like that. It's in that vicinity. So it's close to the 96 handle anyway. I see this as a buying opportunity for the dollar. And I can't really envisage it getting through that level again without some support. And you're seeing, you know, consistent higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. So it would not surprise me. In fact, it would surprise me if it went the other way at this point in time. The Fed, why was that raised so quickly? I don't know. I'm not the market leader, but it has certainly happened. But I see total support here for this dollar. For that reason, going back to where I was, which was, what was I talking about? Euro Kiwi. And the point I was making is that the dollar didn't quite make it to that level. And we just spoke about two other pairs that haven't quite made it to the level before they actually reversed. Now, Euro Kiwi's got very little to do with the dollar, to be frank. But here's what it did deliver. It delivered to me on Tuesday a game-changing bar. and I'm pretty sure most of the people in the room know what I'm talking about. Game changer bar is a candle or bar candle, whatever your poison is, whose high is higher than the previous day and closes on or near its low. Now, obviously, it's closed on the weekly pivot, which is a strong support level, and bounced off that, but couldn't put the new high in, at least in the day. Now it's challenged that high and appears to be coming off it. Now, I call this a game changer plus scenario. So game changer bar followed by an inside bar is an interesting combination for me. The one problem is it has to be backed up by the primary trend. And the primary trend, which we look at the monthly chart, is in conflict as far as I can see. We have had over the last, 2 years, not quite, 18 months, a downtrend in place. Yet it was smashed by this big buyer bar last month. And that concerns me somewhat. The thing that encourages me here is that we are at a resistance level, a strong resistance level, and we are due a pullback maybe to that trend line. So I think there's something in that. I'd like to see it hit this level, but again, maybe it's not going to. If it gives me what I need, which is that reversal scenario, then I can trade this way back to here. There's quite a distance and quite a reward on offer. Say you got in there, your stop loss was there, about 100 pips. You've got 250 to pick up to 2.5 to 1 trade, maybe even better than that, a 4 to 1 trade, if it'll come back to that level. So that's kind of where I'm at with Euro Kiwi. I'm just waiting for the right time to get into the market. At the moment, I do think this can reverse with my game changer plus, as I call it. I'm just waiting now to get a decent lower high in here probably, so I can actually trade it. Double top exists there right now. Nice bounce off the daily pivot. Failure to take out the highs, that would make sense to me. And that could happen as early as today. But be aware that you've got the euro, and that could work if the initial move off the euro is down, and then we got a rally and a low high. I think I'd be looking to trade that. Hopefully that'll set up tomorrow morning. Now I'm still looking at Euro Aussie. Why? Simply because the structure is exactly as I had envisaged, apart from one thing. I haven't got a clear lower high yet. We're back inside the range. I'm really seeking a lower high. If I've got a reversal bar off the weekly pivot, it would be interesting, but not compelling because we're trading straight back into the monthly pivot. It's going to have to be on a smaller time frame, I think, until the monthly pivot breaks. Then I get my lower high. Maybe I've got to wait quite a bit, a few days.
Hey, would
maybe.
You want to trade this before the rate decision today, or would you wait on that? You'd wait on it.
No,
wait on the rate decision, and then
have a look. I've got no idea what the rate. Well, on who knows what she's going to say. I really have no idea what she's going to say.
I just can't. I can't see anything being anything but dovish. Honestly, I just don't. I don't see where the euro makes any kind of call to step in line with the likes of the Bank of England or the Fed.
Well, certainly you know fundamentally more than I do. But to my mind, if the rest of the world's doing one thing, why is the euro going to do the other? I don't know. That's just logic that goes on with it.
Do you know what it'll come down to? Whether the word transitionary comes up. She seems to be still banging the same drum about
inflation, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I think that if she can convince the market that that's what she thinks, rather than just the fact she's just panicking, she doesn't know what else to do, then I think that the market will probably decide, okay, that they're probably not going to be moving anytime soon. And to be fair, some of the numbers recently, maybe sort of fit into that rhetoric a little bit. Only a little bit, but maybe a little bit.
I retain my stance. I've got no bloody idea what she's going to say. So until she says it, I really can't be involved. And really, I don't have the right to do so. I've got the re-entry, and I'm undergoing the retest, but I'm still in wait and see mode. I'd love to see a significant lower high here, but look at where price is. It's just sandwiched within these pivots, which are close together, and these are not going to move, in my humble opinion, until we hear that rate or the statement. Rate decisions almost rocket science, not rocket science. There's not going to be one, but it's what she says, obviously, and it always is these days with the statements. And it's going to be not real easy. And like I said on pound Aussie, I think I've got to clear the monthly pivot first, then look for the lower high before I can get involved here, because we are going a little bit rangy as well. The pound yen that I tried to get into earlier, I described how I needed a bit of a kick in the butt, has now chosen, if you like, to break a little ascending triangle. Now, people will tell you ascending triangles will break to the high side more than they won't, and that's fine. I haven't got a problem with that. What I have got a problem with is if it doesn't do that, how do we trade it? And it's like everything else. You know, if we've broken a resistance level and it proves to be false, then we look for a lower high. If it breaks a support level and it proves to be false, we look for a higher low. There's nothing ever changes for me. That's exactly the way we play that. I can't tell at this stage. And again, we've got one of these levels directly above us, which is interesting to me. I'm a massive bear this thing if we can get a reversal bar off that level, or even anything underneath that double top that's still inside that range is a sell for me. But again, we've got the pound. I said I wasn't going to talk about the pound, didn't I? So I'll get away from it. One thing I can talk about is Aussie Yen. Now, Aussie Yen, for precisely the same reason as the pound Aussie, the Euro Aussie, and anything else that's ranging like we are, hasn't played out. And I mentioned this in my preview this morning to our group, or to the Slingshot group, that this was exactly the same setup that we traded pound yen short on Monday. And it was very much a wake-up call for me that this was not going to go short without some fight. And although it did look very much like a false break of this descending trend line and the top of the range, it wasn't decisive. It wasn't clear. This is what you want to see. You want to see a decisive candle break the line and decisive candle retest it. Unfortunately, this little kerfuffle in here has spoiled all that, and I now have to disregard that line because it's no longer reliable for me. So I've got to wait for something else to happen here. So I'm going to get rid of that trend line and look at this structure, which is even better. So if we got this to false break, price up here, back under here, retest the level, even if better still, if it takes out those lows, then I can look to trade it short. Until that time, I have to wait on Aussie Yen. Euro Yen's exactly the same. Looks like it wants to go higher, is about to meet resistance. If it comes back into that range, we'll look to trade it. That's probably where I'm at, but we always want to talk about euro dollar. And euro dollar, if I'm to trade it today, I just don't know, to be honest. It is all over the daily pivot and has been all day long. That takes away our edge, of course. So I have to go to a little bit of a larger time frame to see where we're at. And here's the only opportunity I see to trade this today, frankly. Let's get rid of the triangle for now because it's not relevant on that chart, I don't believe. There we go. But what is relevant on this chart is this trade line. It is in concert with last month's monthly pivot. I would love to see price get up to here, fail to take out the high, or even if it took out the high, come back underneath this level, get back underneath the monthly pivot and retest anything, the monthly pivot, the daily pivot, or the trade line. Then I can think short. Am I biased that way? Well, given what I said earlier about the dollar index and it's at strong support, then I can totally go with a euro dollar short here. again, we've got the euro situation where the ECB meets tonight. If we
the
get
great
the
thing about all this stuff as well is that we saw the S&P and the Nasdaq both shape up for a relatively kind of clear trade after the rate decision. So anybody that thinks they need to trade before the news to get the move, they don't. You can wait for it because this is a big event. So whatever Christine Lagarde says will filter through. If this isn't able to break to the upside, that sends a really strong message. And as you say, you get a setup after that, then I think you've got to a degree, a much clearer trade because you've got a fundamental reason to go short and you've got a setup to go short. So, if it breaks long and holds, and then it holds on the trend line, again, you got a nice fundamental reason to go long. You don't even have to know what she says. The chart will probably tell you. It
will, yeah, totally. So I think we're going to have opportunities tomorrow, or even if you're awake for US session, you'll probably have those opportunities come up this evening as well. I won't be in front of the charts then, so I'm hopeful that tomorrow I can see exactly what we're just talking about, the failure of something to happen after the announcement has been made. So I really can't give you anything to enter the market on right now, but I think there's a few ideas there that that make sense to me, and hopefully they make sense to you.
Yeah, and so watch out for the euro and the pound. I'd say watch out for the euro and the pound tomorrow. You get a setup tomorrow, then you might be a bit better off taking that trade in the morning. But certainly put those on the watch list.
Absolutely. Speaking about watching, it's that time. Unless you've got something, mate.
No, mate. No, FTSE is stationary.
Okay, the stationary.
Yeah,
the stationary FTSE. Let's go from the stationary FTSE to the Thursday Theatre of Thoughtfulness and welcome Genial John. Hello, Genial John. How you doing, mate?
I'm all good. All good.
Also the QM.
All good. It's all calm. It's holiday time, so it's
holiday time. Why is it holiday time?
3 days of Chinese New Year, and
you'll celebrate Chinese New Year. Okay, fair enough.
Today is Federal Territory Day if you live and work in Kuala Lumpur. So unfortunately my wife's job is just outside Kuala Lumpur, so I had to take her to work this morning. But yeah, we're on holiday this
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange. There are 3 federal territories
that much
in Malaysia. There's an offshore banking in the island of Labuan. The government buildings in Putrajaya are a federal territory, and the city of Kuala Lumpur is a federal territory. So, yeah, lots of holidays. So, yeah, I'll chill out for 3 days.
Poor old employers is all I can say. I used to hate public holidays when I was an employer. To pay people doing nothing, it's ridiculous.
I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's worth a bit of research. I think Malaysia has the most public holidays of nearly every country in the world, I think.
That's the place to move to then.
No, it's not. Too bloody hot.
And the food is good.
Food's good, great people, but gee whiz.
And the weather, you get used to it. Okay.
No, you don't.
Maybe. Oh, lost my controls.
Righto, we've got our pencil sharpened. Everyone's invited to answer these questions. One day, we're going to have a prize. We haven't worked out what it is yet.
We need like a cup that goes around every week. In fact, we should make an NFT. That'd be really cool, mate. Make a nice NFT cup that you pass around every week for the winner.
Okay. Given I've heard of NFTs, but I have no idea how to make an NFT cup. I'll leave that one in someone else's court. But what a good idea!
I have got a platform, but I haven't looked through it. Unfortunately, they've launched on Polygon, and I just haven't got any Polygon. They promised me they were going to launch on Cardano, which is why I kind of got interested in the platform, and they're dragging their heels. So maybe when they launch on Cardano, I'll see if I can make an NFT cup.
Right.
Sounds like a plan.
Can you guys see the screen?
I can see Buddy's brain power time.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I can't actually see everybody else, but okay, no problem. Okay, it's not a dangerous quiz. he says, now some of the information has been mentioned already today. Which just reversed? Google,
Oops.
Facebook, Apple, or Microsoft? Yes, Facebook or Meta, which I think is.
Well, I'm sure you mentioned it earlier, Ash, but I probably wasn't listening that intently. How much of a percentage drop was it? Do we know?
Oh, no, I didn't look, mate. I didn't look. I just read the report, and I just thought, well, Jeff and I were talking about the FANG stocks the other day, and I don't know what they dropped, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is how much were their earnings? What sort of miss was the earnings?
The earnings was quite a miss.
So, yeah, because everybody's sort of wanting the Nasdaq to kind of like get some sort of boost, and it was on its way. And then this comes out and it completely destroys things. And the reason it's so significant is that everybody's expecting the Fed to be choking earnings further. So you don't want companies like this to have not at least had their very last hurrah where there is loose monetary policy missing earnings.
Yeah.
Along with Facebook, along with PayPal, it was a bit of a.
Yeah, PayPal was terrible as well. Yeah.
Bit of a punch.
Someone told me to short PayPal only last week.
Well,
I don't know. I don't even know how to do that. I haven't got charts on there.
What do these trading symbols represent? Are they Forex pairs, energy, indices, or soft commodities?
Orange juice and coffee. I'm going to go with D.
There is coffee seems to be a bit pricey.
That's Jules's trade.
It seems to be what? Sorry.
Coffee is going up in the supermarkets here in KL, so that's why that's in there.
Isn't everything going up in the supermarkets? Everything's going up in the supermarkets here. It's called inflation, I think. Transitory inflation.
Transitory inflation, apparently. Not where I am. Which central banks are front and centre today?
Oh, sorry about this, John. We've talked about all these on the shows.
Everybody
good's your memory?
the answers.
My short-term memory's not that good, you know.
No stress quiz this week.
It's good though, mate, because in a way, it's good that people are reminded of this before they've taken a trade. Hopefully, they're sort of like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So the pound and the euro are reporting today. I better not get involved in those before 1 o'clock.
Which major world economy is on holiday this week? The USA, China, Europe, BRIC, or who's chilling out this week?
Oh, I put the wrong one. I didn't see China there.
Who have you put them?
I put ASEAN.
Who are you sending your messages to, Jeff? I don't think it's.
I don't know.
It's a bit, they're a little bit tricky.
Who am I?
No, you're okay. All right.
Russia does not want the Ukraine to join what?
Oh, yes, we know this.
The EEC or the UAE. Yeah, people are getting on. Fun fact, if people are interested in fun facts, one of the main historical reasons Russia's not that keen on it, in the old Soviet Union bloc, obviously Russia was the biggest military component. The East German one was highly efficient, but the next biggest component of the Soviet Union arms machine was the Ukraine. So
that's interesting, mate.
It's got a bit of history. That's one of the reasons that they and not that you can condone it, but that's one of the reasons that they're a bit hot.
PB, is RT still involved in that game?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, it was code.
Oh. Sorry, mate. PB, is RT involved in which game?
The arms supply.
Not live on YouTube. I can't even answer that.
That's why it was code.
He's definitely still got both his arms.
Excellent.
I'm not going to get involved in that answer. Which central bank said watch and wait this week?
Same one that's been doing it forever.
Yeah.
I bet they turn out to be right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Which city is hosting the opening ceremony for the 2022 Winter Olympics? Beijing,
Ooh.
Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, or
The opening ceremony.
the opening
I don't
ceremony?
know. I'd have to go with the favourite, I suppose.
Oh, these are beautifully topical this week, John, and even better that I know them all so far.
I've got one wrong.
Oh yeah, see, NFT's coming to me.
Just a slip of the pen. Which country announced the possibility of introducing its own digital currency sometime this year? This is quite
This year? Didn't know it was this year.
Yeah, this particular country is having a bit of a ding dong. Yeah, it's having a bit of a chase up with itself.
That's why.
Yeah, got one wrong.
Yeah, me too. Got two wrong now. I'll have to go in the dunce corner.
Okay. This is if you're gonna beat a company down, really get at them. Which FANG just experienced a first in its company history. Yeah.
Ooh.
This is it. If you're into the social media and things like that, I don't know, it might be quite significant. It's the first time apparently.
Okay.
That it's happened to this company. Yeah. Some people coming in with the right thing. Facebook daily active users.
Oh wow!
For the first time, they could be in a little bit of soup.
Yeah, it's interesting, that story that keeps unfolding. There's little bits and pieces all over the place suggesting that they may have a fall from grace. How far? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's in a way, it's a little bit surprising because if people still have got the needs to communicate through social media, has Facebook got a genuine challenger? I know there's like, you know, there's things out there, but have they got a genuine challenger?
Most of the students that I teach music to don't use it. They use.
I agree with that, John. My son, who's what, Gen Y or something, I don't know, one of those gens, won't have anything to do with it. So I think the next generation coming through will have a big say in how Facebook performs.
They're just not interested.
Yeah, same, Lewis. Absolutely.
And
it's interesting.
The last question is a sort of musical question and a political question at the same time, but the politics bit comes in a minute. Which country was the inventor of the saxophone born in?
I don't know, but let's go with.
But interestingly, that same country is going to be host to some pretty important decisions over the next.
That makes it easy.
I know. Well, there you go. I don't want everybody to, and
everything happens there financially.
But Belgium is the home of the inventor of the saxophone, and it's also the home of NATO headquarters.
It's quite an impressive little place, Belgium, isn't it? In a lot of ways, unsuspecting little place, and
back in the 80s, I wondered why we were going on this trip from West Germany to Belgium, and then somebody pointed out, oh, it's NATO headquarters. We're going to go and do a concert there. I thought, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I quite like it. I think Belgium's quite, it's a nice country, Belgium.
Yeah, it's a nice place. I like it. Good place.
Very good, mate. Very good. So, John, I've got to ask you: are you still? What's happened with the Nasdaq? Did you manage to pull yourself out of that one in the end?
I took my money.
Well done.
And I marked up my chart, and I'm having a watch. And interestingly enough, for me, the turnaround point, like the drop last night, even though it was all the earnings reports, it turned around, bang on, a 10% drop from the high.
Yes.
11.95 is a 10 point. So I thought, okay, So
Yeah.
I will just wait for it to go present an opportunity to go down again.
I think it's really interesting because you could make a case for every single chart to turn at a technical point. But because there are so many technical points, 10%, as you say, there's pivots, there's support and resistance, there's EMAs, there's Fibonacci levels. There's lots of different levels on a chart. But I think you could trend lines. You could make a case for every single chart to get to a technical area somewhere along the line, and it just depends on which one you use. And this is why I think trading is fascinating in many respects, and why you should never really expect your particular levels or your particular strategy where it's going to have your levels on to work every single time, because it doesn't work like that. And what you're after is trying to get your edge comes from it turns more often than not in my areas.
When it does, it turns a shitload more than when it doesn't. In terms
exactly,
space,
yeah. So it really does.
And I don't mean frequency. I mean distance.
Yeah, so you're basically sort of taking more out of the market than you're losing on less occasions. Absolutely right. And this is the interesting thing about it. It's all mathematical in the end, and it's just finding which one, I guess, ends up working for you. Which of those levels works for you. But that's what we're all doing, isn't it? We're all trying to find. Ultimately, we're trying to find what is my definition of support and resistance. And what do I need to see to suggest that support and resistance is either going to hold or break?
Yeah, no, I marked it in. Was it last week? You said something about a 10% drop. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I marked 10%, a 15%, and a 20% drop. And then I started to do, because we've had a holiday, so I've just been sat down reading that now looking at the London stock market, and then I look at the Nasdaq, and I see them. Obviously, they are separate things, but the companies that make up the London one and then the Nasdaq, I'm giving it, gosh, no wonder they move the way they do, because the Nasdaq has got those top companies that seem to make all the money, and then down below, it's just at the minute, it's just like,
yes,
it's been happening for some time apparently. I was listening to a commentator on that who's been spruiking that for months and months and months. Just said, look, everything below the top 5% is garbage at the moment. So I don't know that stops anytime soon. That's not for me to say, but
I don't know if it does, mate. I mean, this is the thing. If we're going to get if we're going to go back to a growth environment again, then those companies will come up, just like we saw with the cryptocurrency market. Cryptocurrency market is similar in some respects. You've got the top 5 or 10, and then just a plethora of things below. And when things are bad, the things below just go to zero. I mean, it's just companies collapse all over the place. Yeah. But when things are good, everything just goes up, and it's a good time to be in, I guess, altcoins. When things are, people sort of talk about the altcoin season. Well, I would have thought that when cryptocurrencies are rallying, generally speaking, it is an altcoin season, because they're the ones that are going to get you the 10 plus X's. Whereas when things are happening like they are now, I'd be surprised if it's any kind of season. I would have thought altcoins are getting smashed up, and potentially, some of them are probably going to zero and just collapsing. So, and this is one of those things, isn't it? If you wait long enough, the season will come back again. And right now, getting into the Nasdaq is just where you will see the real investors kind of get involved. They will have made a genuine judgment call. They're the ones that are looking through balance sheets, and they're the ones that are judging the macro picture. Whereas everybody else could have made money over the last 2 years just by opening up the chart for the first ever time and just going, I'll buy it. I'll just buy it. The Reddit crowd, just buy it up. No big deal. But this is the time that those guys get smashed up, and it'll probably, potentially, it could last a whole year, maybe longer, while we get this cycle to the downside. But tough in a down market, tough to make money. And if you were happy to be patient, then you could wait 3 years and it'll come back again. You can just buy what you want and you'll make a whole bunch of cash.
Yeah.
Wait for the opportunity to buy. Yes, okay, I get that, and that makes sense. And it's exactly the same when the stock market comes off. You know,
Yeah,
when
because you
it
know what the
finally
signal
does.
is, mate. You know, everybody knows what the signal is, really. The signal has been the same for the last 2 cycles. Wait for the stock market to get smashed up. The Fed come in and say, we're going to do this. Everything rallies, and it rallies for the next 2 years. You know, that's been the same signal. Same happened in the financial crisis. Don't even remember what Ben Bernanke, as soon as he came out and started sort of introducing quantitative easing, the markets rallied, and they rallied for a period, you know, and a decent period. And then you get COVID smashed up. Then all of a sudden they're lowering interest rates across the board. The market starts to rally, and it rallies for the next 2 years.
We could do without another deadly strain of COVID going around the world right now, I think.
Yeah, you don't want that one.
No, we don't want to wish that upon anybody.
No.
Who's trading this week, guys? Lewis, daily chart on what? Is that, I can't remember what chart we were talking about at the time. Lewis has got an idea that there's a daily setup on what chart?
That might be on the Nasdaq.
Short. Is it the S&P, Nasdaq? Nasdaq. Can you show us? Ash or Lewis? Anyone?
Yeah, sure thing. Let me have a look.
Silver as well? Okay.
Yeah, we should talk about silver, actually. Let's do that. Let's do this.
Lewis, I thought you were far more creative than that. But I get it, mate.
Creative about what?
No, he said he can't share because he's on his mobile.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Okay, so daily setup on the Nasdaq. Here we go. Is this okay with all the pivots, or is it a bit confusing? Do you want me to get just a clean chart?
Well, it's not for me, but whatever.
It's okay. All right. Okay, yeah. So daily setup on the Nasdaq. Yeah, I guess the question is it there yet? Is it there yet? I just don't know, mate. This would be this, as I said before, that's the sweet spot. You're getting up to 15.5. Then you're really looking at so much in the way of lines right across here. That was resistance, rejected, became support, became resistance there, rejected. So that's the sweet spot. The question is does it get up there? And then the second question is, if it doesn't get up there, do you care that you miss it? You know, is it because that's the way I would look at it. I'd be sort of saying, okay, yes, I get what you're saying, Lewis. This bar is a reversal bar, but this is detail. This isn't big picture, right? This isn't sort of saying we've reached this really key. We've reached this key level, and now we've reached this key level. Now I'm looking for reversal bars, because the problem with this is that you can find reversal bars all right the way through the move. And the first question is always, is the move done? Then after the move's done, do I have a reversal bar to suggest that now that this market is going to reverse? Because at this point, what we have is, okay, yeah, we have a monthly pivot. I would grant that. Do we have a retracement that is significant enough? Well, yeah, I guess you do. You've got the 50% retracement. So there's a couple of things there that would qualify. And if that is your strategy, that you look for 50% retracements or you look for monthly pivot, I get it. But what I wouldn't be surprised to happen here is that, yes, it comes down, but then it manages to grab something around about the 14.5 before turning around and going back up again. So if you're looking at that, then you're looking at potentially 500 pips to the upside and only 250 on offer to the downside. Getting back to the lows, you're looking at a 2-to-1. But what you really want, to my mind, is to get a reversal here, creating a head and shoulders pattern, which is obviously a reversal pattern rather than just a reversal bar, and then potentially dropping off the cliff, falling and falling and falling, basically falling through from this point here. That would be the way that I that's what I'd like to see. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but then if that wasn't to happen, the question then comes in: would you be bothered if you miss the move altogether from here? You know, if you take it from, if you don't take it, you choose to pass this one up, it doesn't get back up here, and you end up missing a big one. Would you be bothered? And the reason that I won't be is that I know that if this is tanking to the downside, I'll be presented with another opportunity somewhere else that will probably just be a little bit nicer and just a bit easier to trade. But that's the question that everybody would have to pose to themselves. I can't see on the mobile. Okay, you like the silver as well. Okay, so let's have a look at silver as well. Any comments on that, Jeff?
I can see the case for both. The one thing I would say is if this does turn out to be a head and shoulders,
yeah,
then the neckline is extremely bearish. Extremely bearish. No, bring your second touch as the first neck. Should call that armpit, I think, rather than, yeah, there. And down to the lows. You know, I don't know if you have noticed this or whether it's part of your way of trading head and shoulders, but in my world, and I used to think completely the reverse of this, if the head and shoulders was a support trade line for me, then I thought that was the best scenario ever. But I've since noticed that if the neckline is a descending line as it is there,
yeah,
it is way, way more powerful in terms of depth of move. So if that actually happens, I think the Nasdaq's in a bit of poo-poo.
But what about this though, mate? I mean, if that is the neckline, that creates this channel.
It does,
which is possibly why we're holding here.
Maybe. And if it got back below that, I'd be with you, Lewis, I think. But until it does, I think you're 100% hold and wait, Ash.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting, mate. Yeah, I'd go with your neckline. I think your neckline is better than mine. That's again illustrates the point why chatting to a trading buddy is so useful. Because I
mean, we learn so much from each other, don't we? And I'm not just talking about you and I'm talking about everyone in the room.
Absolutely, because now what it means is that it needs to break here to genuinely be the bearish kind of call.
Yep.
So yeah, I suppose I'd need to put on both to be comfortable. I need to put on both levels, that one and probably that one as well. But I think yours is so much nicer because it's genuine touches, touch there, and touch there, and it's clean. That's pretty clean. I don't know what that looks like on a weekly, but let's have a quick look. And I suppose that's where this line becomes more interesting, because on the weekly, this was a hold, you see?
Yep.
So is it this one or is it this one? And I think both of them are valid. And it just depends on what you end up using to trust. I tell you what this is starting to shape up, which is also, I think, pretty cool, is that this could happen. We pop, somewhere along the line we drop, we pop, test, and then we drop.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So actually taking it here would be a lovely little add point if you've managed to get in somewhere around about here. Very difficult to make a case for the Nasdaq long. Very, very difficult. You know, I see this as nothing but bearish for a period. Okay, let's have a look at silver quickly then.
Hi ho.
Yeah, all sorts of trouble, silver. This one just cannot catch a bid. You know, really, really tough. It's all over the place. I mean, I got really lucky on this one, mate. I have to say, because I'm trading two different accounts, and this is effectively something that I trade for someone. I took profit up here on this account, but I stayed on my own. I stayed on my own account. So my own account saw this and this and this and this and this. So I ended up kind of getting a little bit of a squeeze when it rallied back up here. But it was frustrating not to take it. But I took it on this one because I thought, you know what, I'm going to be I've got two accounts, one hyper conservative, one a little bit more aggressive. And this was the hyper conservative one. So I got a bit lucky on this one. But since then, I've had no impetus to get back involved in this. And look what's happening now. It's just in a terrible net.
That's garbage. You got no idea what happens next.
No idea what happens. And also, I just wonder whether the timing is just off with this. This may well end up holding. This may well end up holding here. I looked at the gold chart yesterday. Might end up holding there. It might end up holding here. Who knows? I looked at the gold chart yesterday, and gold's a little bit different. It's managed to kind of get itself up and running a bit better. But I looked at gold yesterday, and I thought, you know what would be just a complete mess with gold is if it comes all the way down again and manages to test something along this level here. Because that may well end up being the case, that we just fall down and we end up grabbing this area instead. This is just too much.
It's still a big double top sitting there, mate.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's probably the trend line there, which does start to bring this one into view. And it could be that, you could be looking at that. I think a lot of people would be much more comfortable if it was to touch this trend line and a horizontal level somewhere. I would be, I'd be buying and holding then. In these areas, same as silver, I'm finding it difficult to leave stop losses loose. I'm putting up a break even, and if it takes me out, it takes me out. Because if it pops and goes, you're in great shape. But it's difficult when you get in. You have your stop loss at break even, and it takes you out. Then you've got the question again. Then you've got to work out where you're going to get in again. But this would be just a lot more comfortable. I wouldn't even worry about stop losses here probably for quite some time if it really did collapse for a while. But whether that's going to happen, I don't know. I mean, we'd be talking about a 20% drop.
At the moment, it just can't get out of its own way, can it? Look, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months now in a very tight range.
Yeah. So that is what I see. Lewis, there seems to be a little D-link in gold and silver. Yeah, there does actually. There does. I noticed that as well. We had a little rally in gold yesterday, but just a bit of downside in silver. The ratio started to improve a little bit in silver, so it could be something to do with that. But the ratio is still quite low. But it's a watch this space, isn't it? I guess the question really with gold is, if gold manages to get itself above a level, I mean, I don't even know what it is anymore. I guess somewhere around here, maybe. Gold manages to get up there. Would you still be interested? Maybe gold needs to get up above 1850. Would you still be interested in the long? I guess so. I guess that'd be okay, wouldn't it? And many people would be waiting for this. But outside of this now, this doesn't look good, does it?
That's interesting, though. Back above that trend line, and the retest of that gives you a good, strong indicator.
Yeah,
I believe that it can go long. But again, only to that trend line. And then what happens next?
Exactly.
Back again, maybe.
This here, mate, is the measured move of this pattern, which brings us back down to these lows that we saw at the in 2020. Well, and a few times. Strong support line, actually.
So there's a potential ABC short there for me.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah. I just got a bit of a lack of confidence with doing anything with this stuff right now.
Can't imagine why. Look at the chart.
Yeah, terrible, wouldn't it? I mean, look at that. This over a whole year and a half, really. No, sorry. No, it's about 6 months. Last 6 months, it has just gone nowhere, which suggests when it goes, it's going to explode.
Yes, the problem with that chart is, as a person who loves to range trade, it's not even a uniform range. It's all over the shop.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you nice uniform bounces off the bottom, bounces off the top. It goes through the bottom, goes through the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The very, very difficult one. Yeah, you're right, Lewis. Very confused kid, I'd say. So that's pretty us, mate. Anyway,
I think that's about it, mate. That's pretty much a wrap for the week. I've got some improving to do over the next 24 hours or so. I'm very, very keen on looking at these charts tomorrow morning, actually. And I will do a preview in the morning for those of you in the Slingshot group, because I think it might be a far more clearer picture than it currently is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just going to leave you guys with the FTSE 100, which is...
Did I just say far more clearer picture? My God.
I think you did.
My mother would turn in a grave.
There's the FTSE. Well, you know what? I mean, hopefully this ends up still making some money today. If it doesn't by midday, then if it's up here, I'm hedging. If it's anywhere here, I'm just taking what's been given. Probably around about. Do you know what? Interestingly as well, 11 o'clock. Everybody should know, if you're trading the FTSE, beware of 11 o'clock, which is in 2 hours' time, wherever you are in the world. The 11 o'clock trade is a thing. And it's oftentimes we see a bit of a reversal at that time. So if it hasn't moved, if it's in here by 11, I'm probably going to close it if we haven't got our money. If it's up here, I'm probably hedging, because we've got an hour before the rate decision, and that's just going to be too dangerous to leave the market open like that.
Tell me why 11 o'clock. You've got me curious now.
Oh, mate, I mean, it's just a thing. Maybe it's the hour before lunch. So there are things implemented. Difficult to know, but time and time again, I look at the 11 o'clock hour as a significant hour for my particular trade. If I'm still open, I don't like trades to be open really that long. I don't like it when they hang over the hour. But if they're open for 3 hours, which they would be if I'm implementing at 8, then I have to make a decision at 11 o'clock about things. And why it is, I don't know. Cool.
It's not a foreign concept, and nor it should be, because things do happen at that time of day, and lots of different times of day throughout the day. And we really should take more note of that, to be fair. Yeah,
well, US market, the one to take note of is the 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock UK time. So, the US market opens at 8:30 their time, which is 2:30 my time. So within 4.5 hours, which I guess would be 12:30, interestingly. So, the 12 hour, 12 to 1 in the US, that's a thing as well.
That looks like you're coming off the top of a range to me. I reckon you've got a strong chance of hitting that profit, mate, before 11 o'clock. Okay, are we done?
We're done. Thanks as always to the gang.
Happy days. Yep. Thanks to the gang. John. Thanks for participating, everyone. Did you have more to say, Ash?
No, just to thank you as always for being my trading buddy, mate, and have a great weekend. And everybody, I will see you next week on Monday.
Thank you, all our trading buddies, for attending, and hopefully you've got something from the week. We hope that next week you'll be back with us again. And in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend and try to love somebody. Bye-bye for now.